Oh, somebody stuck me with something.
Good morning. Put your feet on the ground indeed. I was doing yard work and I put one foot wrong down. It's all good. Happy Solstice.
Randy, move the microphone. There you go.
So just about now we're getting around the solstice time of the year. And in this particular tribe from the East Coast, I want to tell you a story about how the seasons came to be. There was a time when the sun didn't always come back the way it does now. In fact, the days kept getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And they got so short that the people, by the time the sun would start to come out, start to get light, they would run outside and they would get their clothes on and run outside and they would try to get everything done. And before you knew it, the sun was already gone. The days were that short. And so they didn't have a chance to plant the three sisters, the corn, the beans, and the squash. They weren't able to hunt. They weren't able to prepare. They weren't able to grow the crops that they always had. They couldn't make a livelihood. And so they went to their helper, the first teacher, Moshap. And they explained what was going on. And they said, we need the sun to stay longer. We need the days to be longer. As it is now, it's like we awake in darkness. So Moshap said, okay, I'm going to go talk to grandfather's son. And they were on the East Coast, and talking to grandfather's son meant that they had to go into the water. So he waded out into the water to the sun coming up place. And he's waiting there, and it's starting to get light, and he says, oh, grandfather's son, grandfather, and he was gone. So the second day comes along, and he says, okay, I'm going to do it a little sooner this time. So he starts to get a little bit light, and he says, grandfather, I'm wondering if and he's gone already. This went on for 3 days, and 3 days he waited, and he said, I have to do something different here. So he went to the bottom of the ocean and got the long kelp, the long seaweed, and he had taught his people how to make fishing nets out of that seaweed. So he made a huge net, big enough to capture the sun, and he waited. And just as it got light a little bit, the sun started to sizzle out of the water, and he threw and he swung and he swung and he threw the net around and it captured the sun. And the sun says, hey, what's going on here? He says, who has a hold of me? What is this about? And Moshap says, I'm sorry, grandfather. I've been trying to talk to you for 3 days, but you never seem to have the time to listen to me. And he said, I need to explain what's going on. And he told the whole struggle that the people were having, not enough sunlight, couldn't plant the three sisters. And the son patiently listened. He said, that's kind of funny. I find it kind of peculiar that you would say that. And he said, okay. He said, because when I come to your village, the people are all asleep. I come and they don't come and say bye to me or anything when I leave, so I figured they didn't want me around. So I've been spending more time over there in New Mexico, where they really appreciate me. They always say hi to me. And so he said, let me think about this. And so he said, okay. And so Moshap goes back and tells the people what the son had said, grandfather's son. And they said, oh, we never knew the son had feelings. They were embarrassed and kind of, they felt bad. And so they said, okay. So they built a big bonfire the next day. In the middle of the village, they built a bonfire, and they brought out their drums and their flutes. And then they threw tobacco on the bonfire, which is a way to honor the sun. And they started singing songs, and then the sun would come, and they said, hey, I want to tell you something about the moon, So they were gossiping with grandfather's son, and the son, he kind of got used to this, and he said, I kind of like being appreciated, Every afternoon, they'd go to the hill, the highest hill, and they would drop corn pollen, and they would say, thank you for coming. Please come back tomorrow. Thank you. We really appreciate it. So he liked this, and it went on this way for some time. And then he started to miss the people on the other side. So he said, I'm going to go back and talk to those people again, spend time with them. But I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to spend 6 months with them, and then I'm going to come back and spend 6 months with you, and your days will get longer and longer. And so that is indeed where the solstice came out of. And so now this tribe never gets up without thanking the sun, without saying, thank you for shining today, even when there's clouds. And they say, thank you for coming. And when he goes, they say, thank you for being here. We'll see you again tomorrow. I don't know if you noticed my hat band, but I have some bead work. So up here, Indian Santa. So that's a story from one tribe. And of course, in New Mexico, we have the Zuni Pueblo, and they have Shalico. Every December, they dance and they do songs, very private groups. So if you're ever invited, be sure and go up there. The Hopi have their own traditions too, where they talk about the sun. And it kind of seems that all of our ancestors, all of our combined ancestors, when it started to get darker, when the days grew shorter and the nights grew longer, they wondered what was happening to the sun. And so the shamans and the storytellers would be the ones who would tell them, what was going on and what they needed to do to bring the sun back, to appease the light back. So they made up stories of gods and goddesses fighting. And the Chinese say that this big dragon swallows the sun and then comes back. In Babylonia, they had Ishtar. She was the goddess of fertility. In Greeks, they talked about Persephone's being stolen by Hades, and so they made an agreement, 6 months with the mother, 6 months with Hades. Everywhere you go, they're making up stories that are more than just stories, but they're an explanation for what's going on in the world, trying to understand. There was a time when they didn't always know the sun was going to come back. And if you look at the Celtic stories, which I really like, this is where we get the idea of green and red mostly. Well, they had the Oak King who would slay the Holly King every year. And, of course, they were twin brothers, and so they were always fighting. And then they would fight, and they would have summer, then they would fight, and they would have winter, kind of like Cain and Abel, but in a Celtic bent on it, So then we get around to Stonehenge. It was constructed in about 3000 to 2000 BC. Stonehenge was pretty important because it's believed that the people who created Stonehenge, that winter solstice was more important to them than summer solstice, because in winter they would slaughter all the animals so they wouldn't have to feed them in the winter, and they fermented. My favorite part, they fermented all of their grapes and all of their grains that they had left for beer and wine. They were more. It's not like they were big party animals. They had to find a way to keep it going. So I want to sing a song from the Celtic tradition, and it's called Winter, Fire, and Snow. And it talks about that delicate balance, and it ruminates on the growing darkness. In winter, fire is beautiful. It's beautiful like a song. In winter, snow is beautiful, all of the winter long. And you, my love, come safely home, riding the tail of the wind. And may you always come this safely home, in winter, fire, and snow. The days get dark uneasily, they're darker and darker still, and you have gone to carnival, and I feel the winter's chill. But you, my love, come safely home, riding the tail of the wind. May you always come this safely home, in winter, fire and snow. In winter, fire and snow. So you move on from the Celts to the Inuits of North America and of Greenland. They have the story based upon the raven, that the raven, who was a shapeshifter, well, there wasn't any light in the world, so they went to him and said, Raven, can you help us? Well, this great king chief had taken the light and kept it for himself. So Raven turned into a needle, and when the king's daughter goes down to the water, he goes inside of her. 9 months later, she gives birth to a baby boy. And so this baby boy grows up, and he ingratiates himself to the king, steals the light, and gives it back to the world. So to this day, the raven is very, very honored. If you go to Guatemala, December 21st, they have the Santo Tomas Day, the Mayan people, part of my ancestry. What they do, they have palo volarde, and these three men climb this 50-foot pole really high up, and then they tie 1 foot to a string. Then they jump off as people play flutes and drums. Well, if they land on their feet, then the sun's coming back. I don't know what happens if they don't. Let's hope they keep landing. Moving on to the Feast of Yule, actually, Juul, which unfortunately is also one of the e-cigs, but but that's where the word Yule comes from, and that was a pre-Christian festival where they had this big log. They put half in the hearth and half sticking out the door. Saturnalia, which of course a lot of pagans still celebrate now. Well, it was a 7-day festival in Rome that culminated on the 21st of December. Debauchery, craziness. I mean, servants would serve their masters. All the laws would be just thrown out the door. Gambling was legal, just like a casino. And but that's where a lot of the traditions of Christmas come from. So all of our ancestors have always tried to understand this time of year, that tension, that anxiety. So they found a way to call the sun back, and it's a representative, a symbolic light, the light that we carry inside of us too. But by doing these rituals and these ceremonies and these festivals, very elaborate in some cases, very elaborate. If you look at the solstice celebrations around the world, they're just incredible. There's too many. My sermon's too short for that. So a few years ago, I started to hold solstice celebrations at my home that would involve smudging, but people would make solstice lanterns, and they would make elaborate ones. They would get those religious candles and put stickers on it or drawings. They'd write different things on it. So today, that's what we're going to do. So you all have your little cups, and we're going to make our own solstice lanterns. And this is going to be fun. So Edie, if you wouldn't, you and your helpers wouldn't mind passing out. And if you didn't get one, there's some at the back. Lily, okay, yeah, Bob's coming to bring you some. Okay, cool. Okay, so here's what you do. You're going to put stickers on that represent you, what you're feeling. Then you're going to write or draw whatever you want inside and out. It really doesn't matter, of what you want to manifest in this next sun cycle that we're going to have, this next 6 months of solstice. So this is for what you're going to manifest. This is how you see your life now, how you want to see it in the future. Any questions? And we're going to pass around stickers, so go ahead and use those stickers. We're going to do them in little groups, your closest neighbors, and you can share them. There's all kinds of different stickers. Is that clear? Anybody have any questions? We'll be happy to help you. I got to tell you, they were really creative in the Unity service. I mean, they blew me away. I was like, wow, y'all are artists, man. So there's stickers, and then if you're not finding stickers you like, then just get up and grab someone else's. Or ask them. So draw or write words or characters or symbols that symbolize you, what you want to manifest for yourself, maybe for our world. I tried to get fun ones. I found them at the Dollar Tree. They were so They're probably getting ready to throw me out. This is our ritual. This is our way to tie back to that, what our ancestors had been doing this whole time. We've lost a lot of the rituals, been replaced by shopping days. So, you can make it as elaborate or as simple as you wish. What's that guy's name on the end? Hey, David, when you're ready, if you could project those words. Thank you. Perfect. Thanks. Okay, how are they looking? Are they pretty cool? I know the stickers are a little tough to get off. I had a little challenge myself. So now if you would take your candles and go ahead and light your candle. You don't need a match, they're battery operated, so. And put it right inside your little cup and hold it. Hold it, cherish it, appreciate it, give thanks. By honoring the light, we're also appreciating the darkness. And what that means is the darkness that gives us a sheltering place, where the rich earth seeds can germinate, the caves that harbored our ancestors, protected our food, the cellars that kept us safe from the storms, and also the wombs that provided our first nourishment. By acknowledging the darkness of suffering, we can deepen our appreciation of life and strengthen our connection to one another in our unity as well as in our multiplicity. Rumi said, "The lamps are different, but the light is the same. One matter, one energy, one light mind, endlessly emanating all things." So if you could hold your candles next to you, and I'm going to sing this song, and when the chorus comes along, if you'll join me, it's a pretty easy chorus to learn. Somebody's crying and no one hears, afraid of dying and no one's near. Somebody's losing hope, while the tears of power keep turning. And here we go. Light a candle in the darkness, shine a light where evil lies. Be a voice for those in silence. Speak the truth, keep hope alive. Light a candle. Somebody's trying to stop the tears. They're not giving in to threats and fears. Somebody's choosing hope, while the wheels of power keep turning. Here we go. Light a candle in the darkness. Shine a light where evil lies. Be a voice for those in silence. Speak the truth, keep hope alive. Light a candle. Be a candle. So let's get still. You can close your eyes now if you wish and keep hold of that candle. Set your intention for this next coming year. Remind ourselves that we are all part of that divinity. That spark of divinity is in each one of us, in everything, everyone who's gone before, everyone that will come. By acknowledging that light, we recognize the best part of ourselves, the best part of each other. By recognizing that light, we raise that vibration, and we're going to bless this city, this community, this church, all the churches, places of worship, this state, this country, this amazing earth that supports us. And I want to end with a beautiful poem by Susan Cooper called The Shortest Day. So the shortest day came and the year died, and everywhere down the centuries of the snow-white world came people singing, dancing, to drive the dark away. They lighted candles in the winter trees. They hung their homes with evergreen. They burned beseeching fires all night long to keep the year alive. And when the New Year's sunshine blazed awake, they shouted, reveling through all the frosty ages. You can hear them echoing behind us. Just listen. All the long echoes sing the same delight this shortest day. As promise wakens in the sleeping land, they carol and feast and give thanks and dearly love their friends and hope for peace. And so do we here now, this year and every year. Welcome Yule, happy Solstice, happy Hanukkah, happy Diwali, happy Yala, Merry Christmas. At all. Thank you, and so it is.